Nothing really special ever happens here. In this place.
Fooly Cooly is a perfect mess of a show, and it's a perfect parody anime. Now, I've recently just, rewatched Fooly Cooly, and it really reminded me how much of a mess this show is, but that's not at all a bad thing. It makes this show really perfect in my opinion, and it really gives it off that charm of, you don't need to understand anything that's going on in this show. You just watch it for what it is, and it amazes you. This is the type of show that kind of reminds me of something like, Adventure Time or something like regular show, where the plot doesn't necessarily make sense, but that's not in they just, throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. It's more or less of, this is a confusing plot on purpose, and it's a good confusing plot. Because very little is explained, but that's a good thing for the show. Because a show like Fooly Cooly is so short that the more you explain stuff, the more that it takes away from the world and that it takes away from the characters themselves. Because you don't watch Fooly Cooly for the lore, you don't watch Fooly Cooly for, the fight scenes or anything like that. Fooly Cooly is literally like the perfect thing that you could watch while high or like while drunk. Or even if you're me, I first saw Fooly Cooly at like 3 in the morning when I'm half asleep on Adult Swim one day randomly when I was like 13. But I rewatched it just to remind myself of what even really happened with Fooly Cooly, and I'm not disappointed in the slightest. Now, I'm not here to explain the plot because that's basically impossible. Like, you can't really explain the plot of this show because it sounds like a fucking fever dream. It does not sound real. It's like half Gundam, half like a parody of animes, and half like, a parody of the show itself. It's almost like if somebody wanted to, it's almost like the creators of One Punch Man and like South Park got together and made an anime that's like half parody, half anime, half Gundam anime. Like, it's really fucking off the walls. But like I said before, it's a good off the walls. And it has, some really like, unironically, it has some really touching moments and like some really like, some okay life lessons. It's a lot of gaslighting in the show, I'm not gonna lie to you, but like, it's really fucking funny. This is probably the most that I've laughed at any anime period. Like, I was crying laughing like rewatching this, and that's not something that I can say about a lot of animes, because a lot of animes either don't do comedy either, or their comedy is either not that good, or the anime or the characters take themselves too seriously to where the comedy just doesn't work. Because like I said, I can't remember an anime that actually made me laugh out loud like this did, like each episode. Because the show is only 6 episodes, because I don't acknowledge season 2 or 3, but the show is only like 6 episodes. But for me to laugh out loud 4 out of the 6 episodes, I think is really good. But to kind of go into the show a little bit more deeper, like, the characters of the show are kind of like I've said this plenty of times in the video, like, they're really off the walls. But the main characters in the show, they show every emotion, and they only help with the confusion in the show. Haruko really like embodies the chaotic energy of the show, and she's like a crazy gaslighter in the show too. Like, the way she basically just like manipulates this literal child and his family to being a housekeeper, quote quote, so that she can get this galactic being's energy, so that because she's in love with it and shit. And for this literal like kid to basically fall in love with her and basically be like, no, I want the energy because I love you type shit. It's a wild plot, but like, they do it in a way to where the humor carries this show. That's the one thing that I can't say about this show. Besides the animation and the soundtrack, because the soundtrack goes crazy, the humor really carries this show. And this is how like humor should be done in a lot of animes, because a lot of animes don't know how to do humor. A lot of animes either aren't funny, or they just don't know how to tell jokes that are actually funny without them being either like dad jokes or just being cringy ass jokes. And that's just one of the many things that I think makes Fooly Cooly unique, is that it doesn't have to take itself seriously, because it's really just a comedy parody of anime, and like basically every anime trope, especially at the time, because they even have a part in the show where they're asking a main character what Fooly Cooly means and like what is actually even going on. And like, it's a fourth wall moment that I really appreciate, and then it's really done well in this show. And that's kind of the fourth wall breaking that you don't really see in anime. So like I said, I really appreciate that aspect. And this anime not taking itself so seriously makes it stand out above most anime in my opinion. And I kind of do wish that this was kind of like, you know, a sub-genre type in anime where like, I guess you could call it like, you know, chaotic anime where like there's really no plot. It's just kind of like things happening, because like you don't really see a lot of animes like this. Majority of the time you really just see like, you know, shonen and stuff. But like I really feel like anime could benefit from like, you know, diving into like sub-genre animes like this, or even just like kind of like self-parody animes like this and like One Punch Man that don't take themselves so seriously and try to, you know, tell this, you know, super serious story that, you know, the fate of the world is at stake. Like I really do feel like, you know, animes like these and like not necessarily slice of life animes, because this isn't a slice of life by any stretch of the mean, but this is, you know, kind of like it's not just shonen, but it's like a mixture of a lot of things put into one that make it stand out more than just, you know, your regular shonen. Especially now when I feel like we have a lot of shonen animes, and I really feel like this, whatever like genre of anime you would put this in, I feel like we need more. And I am gonna make a video about, you know, different genres in animes that I feel like we really need more of. But whatever this subgenre of anime, this is, we need more of it. Because I feel like a lot of the times, you know, animes, you know, they sort of tell, you know, the same story, and they kind of, you know, just tell the same story like, you know, over and over and over again, and they don't really like deviate from like, you know, the same like, you know, underdog, you know, hero story. And yes, some animes do, you know, do a good job of telling this in a different way. But a lot of times, if you look at a lot of the shonen animes, they really just telling the same story the exact same way, just with, you know, some minor changes and like, you know, some power changes. They don't really like do anything different. They don't really do anything different, if you get what I mean. And kind of one side thing that I did want to touch on, this anime made me realize how important soundtracks are for anime, because rarely do soundtracks in animes really stick out to me. The soundtrack in Fooly Cooly sticks out, and like it's important to the show damn near. It's almost like a rhythm game where like the music like sets the mood for every episode and every scene and almost even every character. Because rarely do I really like remember like, you know, anime soundtracks, because a lot of them really be the same, and I don't really like remember a lot of like anime like soundtracks besides from like the obvious ones like Naruto, DBZ and all that. But, like I really need anime to like have soundtracks like this to where I loved every single song that played on this soundtrack. It wasn't one song in this anime that I did not like. But to kind of like wrap up my thoughts about Fooly Cooly, because like this show really is all over the place, and like it's really hard to like describe to people, but this is the show that like if you somehow haven't seen Fooly Cooly, I recommend this shit 10 out of 10. This shit really is like, it's a quick watch. It's 6 episodes. You ain't gotta watch season 2 and 3 because season 2 and 3 didn't even need to be made, because like Fooly Cooly is one of the only animes that I know that could tell a story this crazy and this good in 6 episodes. Less than 10 episodes and you told a story that's better than a lot of the shit that I be hearing a lot of times. But if you haven't seen this, I really recommend it. I watched it on Hulu, but this is a great like anime if you just want to like just binge watch for like an hour or something like that, and I recommend this shit through the moon. Great animation, great story, great music, great and funny characters, which I feel like we need way more of, like genuinely funny characters and not cringy ones. But like as far as, you know, remembering Fooly Cooly will always be remembered as the best fever dream that you can ever watch, like, cause it's basically if Adventure Time was on acid, and Adventure Time was already a fever dream in itself. Fooly Cooly is the best fever dream that you can sit down and watch.